Hello again, Chuck Bailey with the Bass Channel and another edition of Take 5 with me. Today we're talking about the Squier Classic Vibe 70s Jazz Bass. Pretty cool. Let's check it out. So let's take a look at the specs, right? It's got a poplar body, it's got a maple neck and fingerboard, it's got the old school vintage finishes. I think they use urethane. Black body, it's got alnico pickups, single coil, it's VVT as far as the controls go. It's got a bone nut and you do the truss rod adjustment at the head. I mean, it's pretty much your standard assembly line jazz bass specs as far as what we've come to expect when it comes to jazz basses. I don't normally go out and play a bunch of Squiers, but being in this position where we have the opportunity to work with Zounds and we get to try all these different basses, I got to try this one and play it, mess around with it. It's not bad. There was a very big misconception years ago when people thought like Squiers were kind of garbage instruments, and admittedly, I was part of that, but it wasn't because I played them. It was just because I was just going along with what everybody else said. It was not my first instrument that I would reach for. I mean, if that's being fair. But as we get older, we are a little more open-minded, not necessarily trying to follow the crowd as far as what's cool and what's not. And trying the Squiers that are available now, I have to say I am impressed. They've expanded their line as far as instruments go. Beyond just jazz basses, they have P basses, they have Mustangs, they have all different kinds of Squier basses, even an active line, and they're pretty good. This is right out of the box, right? We haven't done anything to it because we want to be as transparent as possible with our initial thoughts. Would this be a bass that I would reach for if I had this for this price point? I think it's $499. No, honestly, I wouldn't. There are other basses that are in that price range that we've talked about in different videos, not necessarily on Take 5 yet. Hopefully we'll have something soon, but there are other brands that I would go towards first. The fact that these are readily available in that price range and a lot of those other options that I would pick are not yet, that's a big factor. Having the availability for those instruments that are in that $500 price point is huge, especially right now with everything that's going on with products and inventory and everything else. This is a fine instrument, right? Especially if you're a beginner or if you want a workhorse bass or something that you just want to have at the house to fiddle around with and not worry about if it falls over or if your kids mess with it or your dog chews on it or whatever. Everything else about this as far as the aesthetics go, I think it's rad. I love that vintage look for the fingerboard. The maple neck looks great. And poplar being used for the body. I don't have a lot of basses that are poplar body, so I couldn't tell you if that's a good or a bad thing. If you're a tone woods person and you want to chime off in the comments on why poplar is a great choice for an Indonesian-made bass, please let me know. I love stuff like that. If you think tone wood is hocus pocus and you want to chime off in the comments about why it doesn't matter and it could be made from plastic or hooked to a 2x4 and stamped with Squier and it would sound the same, I may not agree with you, but I would love to hear that too. Final thoughts on this bass. I think it sounds fine for its price point. I like that it's readily available. I think there are better options. This came from Zounds. You can go to Zounds and find better 5-string options. Maybe not necessarily for that price point, right? $499 is pretty tough to beat. There are other options that I encourage you to look at. I guess ultimately it comes down to what you want to be happy with. If you want to settle for $500 being your absolute max point, then yeah, then you're limiting yourself, but this is in your range. For a few $100s more, save up a little longer, mow some more lawns, I don't know, rob a 7-Eleven, you can get something better, right? It'll have a better feel. The aesthetics may be in line. If you like that classic look, then you can find something like that, I'm sure. I would just encourage you to maybe not fall into that realm of settling. I did that, and I think everybody does that when they're young because they're so excited and anxious, and they have exactly the amount once taxes and shipping and all that, and you just want to get that bass. Maybe hold off a little bit longer, just a little. You'll be happier for it. Get it if you must. Great bass to have if that's where your absolute out point is, but there are more fish in the sea. Until then, this is it for now. Chuck Bailey with Take 5, and we'll see you next time.